Look, can we just be honest for a second? Do you ever get that heavy feeling in your chest when you're sitting at your kitchen table, looking at your bank account, and the math just doesn't add up? You've done everything you were quote unquote supposed to do. You got the education, you show up early for work, you're not out here buying Ferraris, but you're still one bad day or one weird noise from your car away from a total disaster. It's exhausting, right? It feels like you're running at a full sprint on a treadmill that someone keeps speeding up. And no matter how hard you push, you're not actually moving forward. Well, this is the reality for millions of people in this country. My parents bought a house and raised a family on one average salary, but today you can have two people working full-time and still feel like you're just barely getting by. I wanted to make this video because I'm tired of people telling us to just skip the latte or budget better. That's not the problem. The truth is, the middle class isn't just shrinking. For a lot of us, it's being systematically dismantled while we're told it's our own fault. I've spent a lot of time looking into why this is happening, and there are 12 specific things that are destroying our lives. We need to talk about what's actually going on with your money, because if you don't see the trap, you can't get out of it. Hi, and welcome to Practical Wisdom. Here, we're all about making life a little easier and a lot more interesting. I share educational stories and tips to help you thrive, not just survive. If that sounds like your kind of vibe, join the community by liking and subscribing. Number 12. The death by 1,000 cuts. This is the one most people roll their eyes at, but it's the perfect example of how the world has changed. Think about your parents' generation. When they bought something, they owned it. You bought a lawnmower, it stayed in your garage. You bought a movie, it sat on your shelf. But today, everything is a service. You don't own your software, you rent it. You don't own your music, you subscribe to it. Even some car companies are trying to charge you a monthly fee just to use the heated seats you already paid for. It's what I call microbleeding. It's that $10 here, $15 there, Netflix, Spotify, the gym you don't go to, that app you forgot to cancel after the free trial. Individually, they don't feel like a big deal. But when you add them up, the average person is losing $200 or $300 a month without even thinking about it. Now, this might not sound like the kind of thing that would lead to the death and demise of the middle class, but here's why it matters. That's $3,000 a year that used to go into a savings account or toward a house down payment. Now, it's just a permanent monthly tax on your existence. The system has moved from letting you build equity to making sure you're a permanent renter of your own life. It's the first step in making sure you never actually own anything. And if you don't own anything, you can't be middle class. Number 11, the good credit score trap. All right, so number 11 is one that really messes with your head because we've been trained to view it as a badge of honor. I'm talking about your credit score. We're told from the time we're 18 that a high credit score is the key to the kingdom. We celebrate when that number goes up. But have you ever stopped to ask what a credit score actually measures? It's not a wealth score. It's not a success score. It's a how good are you at paying interest score. Here's the trap. The system rewards you for staying in debt. If you pay off your house and close your credit cards because you want to be free, your score actually drops. The middle class is being lured into this cycle where a good score is just a carrot on a stick used to sell you a bigger car payment, a bigger mortgage, and more buy now, pay later plans that eat your paycheck before you even get it. In our parents' day, if you didn't have the cash, you didn't buy it. Today, the system makes it feel like you're smart for borrowing money just because your score allows it. But while you're busy maintaining that 800 score, you're actually just becoming the perfect customer for the banks. You're not building your own net worth, you're building theirs. It's a psychological trick that keeps us comfortable with being highly leveraged, which is just a fancy way of saying you're one bad month away from losing everything you've worked for. Number 10, credential inflation. So number 10 is a hard pill to swallow, especially if you're a parent or someone who worked themselves to the bone to get a degree. It's what experts call credential inflation. Basically, we've been told for 40 years that a college degree is the golden ticket to the middle class. But while the price of that ticket has skyrocketed, growing almost 8 times faster than our actual wages, the value of the degree itself has plummeted. It's like a currency that's being overprinted. In 1960, less than 10% of people had a degree, and it practically guaranteed you a management job. Today, almost 40% of us have one. And for a lot of people, that expensive piece of paper is just the new high school diploma. You see it in every job posting now. Entry-level administrative roles that used to require a steady hand and a good attitude now require a 4-year degree just to get past the automated resume filter. We're asking 22-year-olds to take on $40,000 or $100,000 in debt just to qualify for a job that pays $45,000 a year. The middle class is getting squeezed because we're paying luxury prices for a basic necessity. We're starting our lives in a massive financial hole, chasing a paper ceiling that keeps moving higher. It's not that education isn't valuable, it is. But the system has turned it into a gambling casino where the house usually wins, and the prize is a cubicle that doesn't even cover your bills. Number 9, gig economy shift. Here is where the stability we all crave starts to show its cracks. I'm talking about the gig economy shift. Remember when a good job meant you stayed at one company for 20 years, you had a pension, and they actually cared if you could afford your mortgage? That world is basically gone. Now, corporations have realized it's way cheaper to hire contractors or freelancers than it is to hire actual employees. It sounds nice when they call it flexibility or being your own boss, but for most people, it's just a way for companies to stop paying for your health insurance, your 401k match, and your paid time off. We've moved from a world of careers to a world of tasks. Even white-collar jobs such as marketing, accounting, tech, and so on are being broken down into these short-term gigs where you're constantly searching for your own paycheck. The middle class used to be built on a foundation of predictability. You knew what you'd make next month when you'd likely get promoted and so on. But today, a huge chunk of us are living in this constant state of low-level panic, never knowing if our main client or that one app algorithm is going to change the rules tomorrow. It's hard to build a life or raise a family when your income feels like it's built on quicksand. We're becoming a society of hired guns with no backup plan, and that lack of security is a massive reason the middle class is feeling so fragile right now. Number 8, hidden inflation. This is the one that really makes you feel like you're losing your mind. You see the news say inflation is at 2 or 3%, but then you go to the store and your bill is double what it was a few years ago. That's because of hidden inflation. It's not just the price tag going up, it's the value of what you're getting going down. Have you noticed how a bag of chips is mostly air now? Or how your favorite cereal box is thinner but the price is higher? That's shrinkflation. But it goes deeper than groceries. I'm talking about things like your car insurance or your health premiums. Those have been quietly jumping by 10, 15, or even 20% a year. Or bracket creep, where you get a tiny raise at work that's supposed to help you keep up, but it actually just pushes you into a higher tax bracket. So the government takes a bigger bite and you end up with less actual spending power than before you got the raise. It's like the system is gaslighting us. They tell us things are stabilizing, but our real life expenses, the stuff we actually have to pay for to survive, are accelerating. It's a hole in your bank account that you can't really budget your way out of, because you're being charged more for less every single day. Number 7, the dream turned into a nightmare. Here is where the dream of the middle class really hits a brick wall. I'm talking about the housing monopoly. For our parents, buying a home wasn't just about having a place to sleep. It was their biggest wealth builder. It was the savings account that eventually paid for retirement. But today, the game has changed. You're not just competing against other families looking for a backyard. You're competing against multi-billion-dollar hedge funds and corporations that are buying up entire neighborhoods with cash. These companies don't want to sell you a house. They want to be your landlord forever. They've realized that if they control the supply, they can keep rent high and keep you from ever building equity of your own. When you combine that with interest rates that make a basic starter home cost twice as much as it did 5 years ago, essentially what you're getting is a rent trap. The middle class is being turned into a nation of permanent tenants. Instead of your monthly payment going toward your future, it's going toward a billionaire's portfolio. It's a massive transfer of wealth that's happening right under our noses, and it's making the white picket fence dream feel more like a gated community we're not invited to. Number 6. The great AI displacement. This one even scared me, and it's keeping a lot of white-collar workers up at night right now. The AI displacement. For a long time, we were told that as long as you worked with your brain and not your hands, you were safe. We watched as automation took over factory floors, but we thought, that'll never happen to management or accounting or creative work. Well, that's over. We're currently in the middle of a massive shift where software isn't just helping us do our jobs, it's actually doing the jobs. Companies are realizing they can replace a middle management layer of 10 people with one person and an AI tool. And even if you don't lose your job, this technology is being used to de-skill roles. If an AI can do 80% of your work, Your boss doesn't need to pay you for your expertise anymore. They just need someone to supervise the computer. This is hollowing out the mid-tier career jobs. Those entry-level and mid-tier roles that used to be the stepping stones to the upper class are vanishing. It's creating a world where you're either at the very top, the people who own the AI, or you're fighting for whatever human-only tasks are left at the bottom. It's a scary reality, but ignoring it won't make it go away. Number 5. The wage gap myth. The wage gap myth gets right to the heart of why you feel so exhausted. It's the productivity versus pay gap. If you feel like you're doing the work of 3 people, it's because, statistically, you probably are. Since the late 1970s, American productivity, how much we actually produce per hour, has skyrocketed. We have faster computers, better software, and we're connected to work 24/7. But here's the thing. While the value we create has gone up by over 60%, our actual pay, when you adjust for inflation, has actually only grown by less than 15%. Think about that. All that extra wealth created by your hard work, your late nights, and your increased efficiency, it didn't go into your paycheck. It went straight to the top, to corporate profits and executive bonuses. The deal used to be, if the company does well, you do well. But that deal was quietly canceled decades ago. Now, the middle class is essentially subsidizing the record-breaking profits of the 1% by working harder for a smaller and smaller slice of the pie. You're not imagining it, you really are working more for less. But if you thought this was bad, let me know what you think of the next one. Number 4. The healthcare trap. For most of the world, getting sick is a misfortune. For the American middle class, it's a financial death sentence. We've reached this terrifying point where even if you have good insurance through your job, you're still one bad diagnosis away from losing everything you've spent 20 years building. Think about it. Deductibles are higher than they've ever been. You're paying thousands of dollars out of pocket before your insurance even kicks in, all while your monthly premiums keep eating a bigger chunk of your salary. The middle class is in this danger zone, where we make too much money to qualify for state help, but not enough to actually afford a 6-figure hospital bill. It's an unfortunate, uniquely middle-class problem to be in, and one that is literally very scary. The wealthy don't worry about it, and the very poor have a safety net. But for the middle class, you're just one ambulance ride away from having to sell the house or drain the kid's college fund. It turns every health decision into a financial calculation, and that kind of constant thought in the back of your mind is a silent killer of the middle-class lifestyle. Number 3. The tax trap. Here is where the system really shows its hand, and it's honestly enough to make your blood boil. Have you ever noticed that you pay a higher percentage in taxes on your hard-earned paycheck than a billionaire pays on their mountain of stocks? It's because the tax code is built to favor capital over labor. If you go to work and sweat for your money, the government takes their cut right off the top, sometimes up to 25 or 30%. But if you're wealthy enough to just sit back and let your investments grow, you're taxed at a much lower capital gains rate. The middle class is the only group that actually pays retail for the government. The very wealthy have loopholes and offshore accounts, and the very poor don't have enough to tax. That leaves you and I, the people in the middle, to carry the heavy lifting. We're essentially paying the bill for a society that doesn't even make it easy for us to save. Every time you get a cost of living raise, the taxman is right there to make sure you don't actually get ahead. It's a structural ceiling that makes it almost impossible to jump from working for a living to being wealthy. Number 2, the debt-based economy. See, 50 years ago, if you wanted something, you saved up and bought it. But as wages flatlined and prices went up, the system realized the middle class was going to run out of money. So instead of raising the pay, they gave credit. They replaced the income we were missing with debt. Now, everything about a normal life is financed. Your car is a loan, your education is a loan, your house is a 30-year commitment, and even your groceries can be buy now, pay later. We've been tricked into thinking that as long as we can afford the monthly payment, we're doing fine. But when your entire life is financed, you don't actually own your life. The bank does. The middle class has become a giant interest-generating machine for the 1%. Every hour you work just to pay off interest is an hour of your life that you'll never get back and that will never build your wealth. We aren't working for ourselves anymore. We're working to service the debt that the system forced us to take just to keep our heads above water. It's a treadmill that never stops, and it's designed to keep you running until the day you die. Here it is, the big one. Number 1 is the root of every single problem we've talked about today. It's the great wealth concentration. For decades, we've been told that a rising tide lifts all boats. We were told that if the economy grew, we'd all get a piece of it. But if you look at the actual numbers, that tide only lifted the yachts. Since the 1980s, we have seen the largest transfer of wealth in human history. It hasn't trickled down, it has sucked up. The top 1% now own more wealth than the entire middle class combined. Think about that. All that productivity, all that new technology, all those extra hours you've put in, it didn't disappear. It's just sitting in fewer and fewer hands. The reason you feel like you're fighting for scraps is because, mathematically speaking, you actually are. The middle is being hollowed out because the money that used to circulate in our local economies, pay for our pensions, and keep our small businesses alive has been pulled out and locked away in offshore accounts and massive corporate monopolies. This isn't a market correction or a rough patch. It's a total redesign of the world. The middle class was an anomaly in history, a brief moment where regular people could live like kings. But unless we realize that the rules have been rewritten to favor assets over people, we're going to keep blaming ourselves for a struggle that was engineered. The first step to surviving this is to stop playing their game by the old rules and start building your own exit strategy from a system that doesn't value your loyalty anymore. So where does that leave us? It's easy to feel like the game is over, but that's exactly what the system wants, for you to just give up and keep swiping your card until the tank is empty. But here's the thing. Now that you see the trap door, you can stop standing on it. The old path, the one where you just work hard and hope for the best, is gone. But a new path is opening up for people who are willing to pivot. Protecting yourself this year isn't about working more hours. It's about changing how you play the game. It means prioritizing assets over appearances, learning how to use AI instead of being replaced by it, and ruthlessly cutting out those silent leaks we talked about. You can't change the global economy overnight, but you can change the economy inside your own four walls. Don't let them gaslight you into thinking this is your fault. Take that feeling and turn it into a strategy. If this hit home for you, do me a favor. Share this with one friend who's also feeling the squeeze. We're all sitting at that same kitchen table, and the only way we get through this is by waking each other up. That's all for today. Make sure you subscribe and leave a comment if you enjoyed the video. And with that said, I'll see you tomorrow for the next video. Have a great day.